Exposed, the incredible moment a black CEO transformed humiliation into heartwarming triumph. The gala twinkled with glimmering lights, but the night turned darker in the blink of an eye. Marcus Anderson, a determined African-American man who had risen from the gritty streets of his urban neighborhood, stood in front of an audience that was supposed to celebrate hope and progress. It was here, among the city's elite, that he faced a jaw-dropping insult from a prominent businessman. With a careless snicker, the man dismissed Marcus's accomplishments, dismissing his hard work and passion with a racially charged remark that stung like a knife. Laughter erupted around them, leaving Marcus's heart sinking deep into his chest. His mind raced, replaying echoes of his parents' voices. His mother, a school teacher who worked tirelessly to uplift her students, taught him that education was the key to breaking cycles. His father, a factory worker, showed him that grit and resilience were the backbone of their community. Right now, those values felt like a weight on his shoulders. Would those lessons hold him up or bring him down? Before he could stabilize his wavering breath, the initial punch of humiliation morphed into something fiercer: defiance. The faces of the friends and community members mirrored back at him, their support palpable. They had been through the struggles together. Memories of children who he encountered each week flooded his thoughts, their eager eyes lit up with possibilities Marcus sought to ignite. Marcus's voice trembled as he attempted to respond, but it all got tangled in anxiety. He hesitated. This moment was about more than just him, it was about every child dreaming for a better life, every veteran he had poured his heart into. He inhaled deeply, letting the love and resilience of his upbringing wash over him. Instead of retaliating, he made a choice to rise. "Ladies and gentlemen," he began, finding the strength within him. "Tonight is not just about charity. It's about humanity. It's about recognizing that our differences should never dim our light." Silence filled the room, pulling focus back to him. The awkward chuckles faded as a different energy sparked in the air. Whether you come from an affluent background or have faced challenges, we share a common thread: we all want a brighter future for our children. His voice grew powerful, each word cracking the facade of indifference. He spoke of unity and the undeniable power of education, how it served as a bridge to cross the chasms that separate their realities. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. As he delivered each line, he felt the weight of the moment lift, transforming into a wave of determination. People were leaning in closer. Could he pull this off? Would he break through? Sweat trickled down his back as he visualized the faces of the children awaiting the change he fought for. As he approached the end of his speech, Marcus filled the air with hope. Together, we can provide these children with the tools to flourish. We have to stand tall, push against the tides. The moment hung thick, electric, like a gathering storm. Silence embraced the room, anticipating his every word. With his heart pounding, he stepped forward into uncertainty, on the edge of something monumental, knowing that what came next could shift the tides of injustice. Would it be applause or indifference? As everyone held their breath, so did Marcus, teetering on the brink of triumph or despair. The tension in the room was palpable, like a tightly drawn string ready to snap. Marcus stood there, heart racing, waiting for the response he so desperately craved. He could feel the collective energy of the crowd, their faces painted with surprise, curiosity, and he hoped understanding. Would his words resonate or fall flat in the grandeur of the gala? After what felt like an eternity, the first wave of applause broke through the silence. It was hesitant at first, like a flicker of light in a dark room. But then it grew louder, more assured, spreading across the audience like wildfire. The sound echoed in his ears, and suddenly, the laughter that had belittled him seemed to fade away. In that moment, he felt the warmth of acceptance wrapping around him like a comforting blanket. Those faces, some familiar, others strangers, were no longer judging him but were now rallying together with him. He smiled, not just with his mouth, but with his heart. "Thank you," he said, soaking in the applause. "Thank you for hearing me." His words wove through the air, knitting bonds of solidarity. With every cheer that erupted, the scars of that painful moment began to close. This was progress. As he took a breath, letting the applause wash over him, he glanced at the front row where his closest supporters, friends who had cheered him on even in the darkest hours, were beaming with pride. Their smiles fueled him, igniting a fire that had been low burning inside him. It pushed him to share his vision, a vision that wasn't just focused on himself but on everyone who had ever been overlooked or denied. "Change doesn't come easy," he continued, his voice steady and full of conviction now. "It requires us to be uncomfortable. It requires us to confront our biases and to understand that the world we shape today is the world our children will inherit tomorrow." He paused, letting his words sink deep into the hearts of the audience. In the sea of faces, he noticed one young girl peering up at him. She couldn't have been more than 10, clutching her mother's hand tightly. Marcus remembered that look, inquisitive, hopeful, and full of potential. He locked eyes with her and felt a rush of duty to protect that innocence, to ensure she and her generation would thrive. The applause began to morph into murmurs of agreement and affirmations. As his speech gained momentum, the tone shifted from a mere reaction to a commitment to action. People were nodding, some were even standing, a wave of support surging through the room. When he concluded, the applause thundered through the hall. It was no longer hesitant, it was an affirmation. Marcus breathed deeply, soaking in the moment of recognition, a sense of victory rising from the ashes of humiliation. This was just the beginning, the first step toward something monumental. Just then, from the back of the room, Marcus noticed a figure emerging. It was his old mentor, Mr. Jenkins, a man who had inspired him to believe in himself during his darkest moments. With a glint in his eye and pride in his posture, he raised his hand, gesturing for Marcus to join him. With a heart full of gratitude and exhilaration, Marcus made his way through the crowd, eager to embrace the man who had played such a significant role in shaping his journey. What would Mr. Jenkins say? What new insights lay ahead? As he approached, the crowd began to settle, anticipation hanging in the air, ready to witness the next chapter of this extraordinary evening unfold. As Marcus stepped closer to Mr. Jenkins, the world around him began to fade into the background. The distant clinking of glasses and the soft murmur of conversations dissolved into an almost dreamlike quality. All that mattered was the figure of the man who had been a guiding star through his darkest nights. "Marcus," Mr. Jenkins said, his voice deep and warm like the first light of dawn. "You've done something incredible tonight. I'm so proud of you." His smile was genuine, radiating an energy that made Marcus feel buoyant, as if he were gliding above the ground. "Thank you," Marcus replied, feeling a lump form in his throat. "I couldn't have done it without your support. Your belief in me during those tough times made all the difference." The memories rushed back: late-night phone calls, long chats over coffee that often turned into passionate debates, each one a reminder of the man who had believed in him when he had barely believed in himself. Damar. Jenkins gestured toward the audience, where faces were still lit by the afterglow of the speech. "You see them? They're ready to be part of the change. You sparked something just now." Marcus turned to look, and indeed, the crowd seemed transformed. Eyes once full of doubt were now alive with possibility. There were countless stories in those faces, each representing someone who might just need a nudge. What if we could turn this energy into action? He mused, his heart pounding with excitement at the thought. "You already have," Mr. Jenkins replied, placing a hand on Marcus's shoulder. "It's not just about words, it's about how you inspire others. They will follow you." Feeling a sense of urgency, Marcus knew he had a role to play. The moment felt electric, and he couldn't shake the thought of that little girl. What change could his journey inspire in her life? He needed to ensure that her future was brighter, not just for her, but for all those young dreamers out there. "Let us build something meaningful, something that lasts," Marcus declared, glancing back at the crowd. A movement. A way to unite our communities and ensure everyone has a voice. Cheers erupted throughout the hall once more, echoing his passion. But there was something deeper stirring within him. It was no longer just about him. He felt the weight of responsibility settle on his shoulders, heavy yet exhilarating. Damar. Jenkins nodded, his eyes full of wisdom. Remember, determination is the bridge between your dreams and reality. This is your moment, Marcus. Own it. As those words sank in, Marcus felt a fire ignite within. He envisioned panels of discussion, workshops sparking creativity, and collaborations breaking down barriers. It wasn't just about his speech tonight, it was the beginning of mobilizing a community around a common goal. Meanwhile, the applause began to crescendo again, this time forming a tidal wave not just for him, but for the movement they could create together. Just as hope began to swell his heart, Marcus spotted a shadow lurking at the edge of the crowd. A figure he recognized, someone who had once tried to silence his voice. Would they shift the narrative back to doubt? Or had the tides truly turned? Without hesitating, he stepped forward, ready to confront whatever challenge awaited him. The crowd, still buzzing with energy, collectively held its breath. What awaited him on the other side of this moment? Would he rise to face it or falter? Marcus's heart raced. The next pivotal chapter loomed before him like an unturned page, waiting for him to write it. The crowd's energy was palpable, a living entity that wrapped around Marcus as he approached the figure. He could feel their eyes watching him, curious and cautious, almost daring him to retreat. But retreat wasn't an option. Not now. Not when everything he had fought for was on the line. As he drew nearer, the shadow became a figure he recognized too well. It was Ryan, a former colleague from those early tumultuous years, one of the very voices that had cast doubt into his heart. With slick back hair and a condescending smirk, Ryan stood there like a specter of the past, ready to drag Marcus back into the chaos. He hadn't expected to see him tonight, especially not after everything that had transpired. Marcus, Ryan greeted, feigning enthusiasm, though the sharpness in his tone cut right through the excitement that had buoyed Marcus moments before. I see you found your voice again. How charming. Marcus felt every word laced with disdain, a dark reminder of his struggles. His stomach twisted, but he stood tall, grounding himself in the weight of his purpose. I didn't just find my voice, I amplified it. We're starting a movement, Ryan. One that truly listens. Oh really? And what is that going to get you? Ryan leaned in, his smirk wide, almost predatory. Another round of applause. You think that changes anything? The crowd murmured, sensing the tension. Marcus felt their eyes shift between him and Ryan, the weight of judgment hanging heavy in the air. This moment could either shatter his resolve or galvanize it. Taking a deep breath, he met Ryan's gaze directly. It's not just about applause, Marcus replied, voice steady. It's about empowerment. It's about showing children like my sister that they can dream bigger than the barriers they face. If you can't see that, you're the one missing out. Another ripple of murmurs flowed through the crowd. He could feel the shift, the collective support swelling like a tide drawn toward the shore. This was about more than just him, it was about everyone who felt diminished or unheard. Ryan blinked, clearly taken aback by Marcus's fervor, but rebounded quickly. And how do you plan to do that? You'll need more than just flashy speeches. His condescending tone faltered as he recognized the passion shining through the community's newfound vigor. By bringing people together. Through education, through mentorship. We will build partnerships. We will create opportunities. Each word was dripping with purpose, a promise not just to himself but to those who needed a spark of hope. The crowd began to cheer again, their voices rising as a strong chorus behind Marcus. He could see their faces, gleaming with anticipation, fueled by his determination. Even Mr. Jenkins was there, nodding in support. Ryan's smirk faded, replaced by an uneasy expression. You really think you can change the world? You're just a kid playing dress-up, dreaming big. Maybe, Marcus shot back, not wavering. But dreams spark revolutions. And sometimes, it only takes one dreamer to light the fire. The rest of the crowd seemed to rally behind him, voices echoing in support. There was a potent magic in the air, one that turned the tide of skepticism and doubt. Ryan's eyes narrowed, and for a moment, uncertainty flashed across his features. "We'll see if they stay with you when the going gets tough." Marcus smiled, defiantly standing his ground. "I'll take that challenge. But I won't face it alone." With that, he turned back to the crowd, their faces beaming with hope. This was merely a moment, but it felt monumental. A step towards something greater than himself, a step into uncharted territory where possibilities awaited, yet, as he focused on the audience, he could feel a knot of unease forming in his stomach. Ryan's presence lingered like a cloud. What schemes lay behind that smirk? What would he do to undermine this burgeoning movement? The applause grew as Marcus basked in the warmth of their support, but that feeling of impending confrontation hung in the air. And in that moment, uncertainty teased the edges of his excitement. Would this triumph become a lasting movement? Or would lurking shadows from the past continue to haunt him? As the crowd began to disperse, Marcus couldn't shake the feeling that this was just the beginning of a much larger battle. Would he be ready for what lay ahead? The challenge awaited him, and he could only hope he had the resolve to face it. The buzz of energy faded slowly as the crowd began to thin, their hopeful faces turning to darkened thoughts of the night ahead. Marcus stood there, caught between the remnants of exhilaration and a creeping dread. He could still feel Ryan's piercing gaze, a reminder that some challenges weren't just confined to the spotlight. "Marcus!" A voice called out. It was Emily, one of his closest friends and allies in the movement. She bounced up to him, her eyes sparkling, radiating warmth and enthusiasm. "That was incredible. You really fired them up." But Marcus could feel the weight of uncertainty deep within him. "Thanks, Emily, but I'm worried. Ryan's not just a voice from the past. He knows how to manipulate people, create doubt." His voice felt heavy with the burden of responsibility. She glanced toward where Ryan had been, a frown shadowing her smile. "You can't let him get in your head. Your message is stronger than his noise." "But what if he plants a seed of doubt? What if he finds a way to undermine everything we just built?" The question hung in the air, thick and suffocating. She put a hand on his shoulder, grounding him. "You're not alone. Remember, you have all of us. We can strategize, stay one step ahead. Don't forget what we're fighting for." Marcus looked into her eyes, reminded once again of the unwavering support around him. He nodded, trying to shake off the darkness swirling in his mind. "You're right. I can't let him derail what we're doing." "But how? What do we do next?" Before Emily could respond, Mr. Jenkins approached, his distinguished figure cutting through the lingering tension. "Marcus, you handled that situation very well. It's clear you inspire hope. But we need to be prepared." "Prepared for what?" Marcus asked, feeling a knot tighten in his stomach again. "Ryan will strike back. I've seen his tactics before. He'll twist your words, he'll find gaps to exploit." "Yeah, I've already thought of that," Marcus replied, memories flooding back of the times he had been turned on, made to look small when he had stood proud. "But how do we prevent that? I don't want our movement to look weak. I need to keep faith." Mr. Jenkins chuckled softly but firmly. "It won't look weak if you face challenges head-on. Be transparent, build a rapport. The truth has a way of shining through the darkness. Share your struggles. Let them see your humanity." Marcus contemplated this. The thought of vulnerability sparked something deep within him. Could sharing his story bring them closer? What if revealing his past struggles would connect him more strongly with the community? With renewed determination, he stated, "Okay. I'll share everything. I want them to see that this isn't just about me. It's about every struggle we've faced together." Emily and Mr. Jenkins exchanged supportive glances, their faith encouraging Marcus even more. "Let us start planning the next event," Emily suggested excitedly. "We'll make it bigger, more inclusive. We'll invite everyone to share their stories." Marcus could feel the warmth of hope bubble inside him. Maybe this would be a turning point, a moment they could truly connect as a community. It wasn't just about fighting against Ryan, it was about standing together. As they discussed plans, the air shifted. The world outside the dimly lit room felt heavy, but inside, they were a beacon. They were building something meaningful, something that could outlast shadows. But just as optimism began to sink in, Marcus's phone buzzed with a notification. He glanced down, his heart dropping as he read the message. "You should have kept your mouth shut. I'll make sure everyone hears what you don't want to discuss." The urgency in his chest tightened, panic creeping back. What had Ryan started? "The moment of truth is closer than you think," he muttered as he looked up to his allies. Did they fully grasp the storm that loomed ahead? Would they stand firm when the world felt like it was crashing down? Marcus breathed deeply, wondering if their collective resolve could weather whatever Ryan unleashed next. What had he really stirred in the hearts of the community? Would the truth truly unite them, or would it tear them apart? Marcus's heart raced as he stared at the message, the words blurring in front of his eyes. "You should have kept your mouth shut." It echoed in his mind, a taunt meant to dig deep. "Hey, are you okay?" Emily's voice pulled him back to reality that he couldn't shake the fear. "Ryan's going to go public. He's got dirt, and he won't hesitate to use it against me," he admitted, dread pooling in his stomach like a stone. "We can handle it together," Mr. Jenkins said reassuringly. "You have us, you have the community. Remember, they care about you. They trust you. This whatever he's got, it won't change that." "It might," Marcus whispered, his voice barely above a breath. "Not if we keep moving forward," Emily interjected. "Let us plan this next event, like we talked about. Bring people together, share stories. Show them that openness is strength, not weakness." "It's just I don't want to be exposed," Marcus confessed, feeling the weight of vulnerability settle on his chest. "What if they don't see me as their leader anymore?" "Then you'll show them the truth," Mr. Jenkins replied firmly. "You have to be willing to show your scars. The world isn't perfect, and neither are we." Taking a deep breath, Marcus tried to absorb the wisdom. He could almost feel the warmth of encouragement wrapping around him. "Okay, then. I'll share my story. But it has to be real. Raw." Emily nodded eagerly, her energy reigniting Marcus's resolve. "That's the only way to go. Let us make this a space for everyone share triumphs, failures, everything that makes us human." As they set to work planning the event, Marcus began to visualize the gathering. He would stand before his community, a collective touching chamber of their hearts, and lay bare his struggles. He would show them that fear didn't define him, his journey did. Days turned into a whirlwind of preparations, laughter filling the air as they decorated the venue, scribbled notes, and rehearsed their thoughts. Marcus felt the community rallying around him. They were coming together in a way he had only hoped for before, but he could still feel Ryan's specter lingering, a reminder of the battle waiting ahead. And right on cue, another message popped up on his phone. "Are you ready for what's coming? The truth isn't just a story, it's a weapon." His hands trembled as he read it, uncertainty gnawing at him. "What is it exactly that you think you know?" he wondered, feeling the walls close in. "Deep breath," Emily urged, noticing the pallor on his face. "Don't let him get to you. You're prepared now. Remember why you're doing this." Marcus closed his eyes and took in a steadying breath. He could hear the excitement in the chatter around him, the laughter bubbling over, the faith growing like a wildfire. But then, in the middle of his contemplation, Ryan's words rang out like a bell. "What happens when the truth you expose becomes your own downfall?" Marcus opened his eyes, staring into the distance. Would sharing his pain really forge a stronger bond? Or would it cut deeper than he imagined? With the event only days away, the stakes felt impossibly high. Would the honesty strengthen their movement, or would it unravel everything he had fought for? And even more pressing, how could he ensure that when the truth was thrown into the spotlight, it wouldn't be turned into a weapon against him? The struggle felt heavier than ever, yet the approaching challenge simmered with a kind of electric thrill. As they finalized details, shadows of doubt loomed over him. How would his community react to the real Marcus, the one who had flaws, fears, and failures? Is it too late to retreat? He whispered to himself, but the growing chorus of hope around him urged him on. He looked up, summoning courage. The moment of truth was closing in, and he had to be ready for better or worse. What would be revealed when they all gathered together? Would it lead to triumph against Ryan's darkness, or unleash a storm? The sun was just beginning to dip below the horizon, casting a warm golden glow that framed the community center. Marcus stood in front of the podium, his heart thumping in his chest. The chairs were filled, and each face stared back at him, a blend of curiosity and support. Friends, neighbors, and even some familiar faces he hadn't seen in years were all there for him. Nervous? Emily whispered as she made her way to his side, her own confidence radiating like the warm light spilling through the windows. More than nervous, he admitted, wiping his clammy palms against his jeans. He took a deep breath, scanning the crowd once more. I feel like I'm standing on a tightrope. You're not alone. Just look at them, Emily said, gesturing toward the audience. They're not here to judge, they're here for you. Marcus nodded. He caught sight of Mr. Jenkins seated in the front with a reassuring smile, reminiscent of the steady rock he had always been. That lifted weight shifted in Marcus's chest, reminding him that vulnerability was part of leadership. Okay. Here goes nothing, he muttered, stepping forward. He took the microphone and cleared his throat. The chatter faded into a stillness that felt monumental. What is the truth? He began, his voice trembling slightly but gaining strength as he continued. I've always thought of truth as some beacon of light. But what happens when that light exposes the dark corners of who we are? He could see Emily nodding, and it pushed him to embrace the moment further. You see, I've glorified certain parts of my story. The successes, the triumphs, those are easy to celebrate. But the struggles? I've buried them hoping they wouldn't find their way into the spotlight. But here I am, ready to share what I've kept hidden. The atmosphere shifted as murmurs filled the room, some were surprise, others alignments with his sentiment. He felt the warmth and the tension meld into a shared moment of understanding. I was afraid of judgment, of being seen as weak or flawed. But I learned that sharing my truth is the greatest strength I can offer. He took a breath, feeling more liberated with each word. I decided to stand here and say out loud that I've made mistakes, that I'm not perfect, and that I've been hurt. But I've also grown. As he spoke, memories flickered through his mind, the moments of doubt, of feeling like he'd never be seen as a leader, of wrestling with expectations that felt like chains. Tears pricked the corners of his eyes, but it wasn't sadness he felt, it was release. I'm still learning, just like all of you. And together, even in our imperfections, we create a community that inspires. We rise by lifting others, and isn't that what life is about? Being raw, being real, and being present for one another. He glanced down, then back at the audience, saucer-eyed and spellbound, hanging on to every word. Ryan may have his weapons, but we have each other. And more importantly, we have our stories. Applause erupted, filling his veins with warmth and relief. But just as the sound enveloped him, a buzz from his phone reminded him of Ryan's threats still lurking in the shadows. The moment felt fragile yet monumental, a juxtaposition of triumph layered with lingering uncertainty. Suddenly, Marcus's phone illuminated with another message. This one felt different. The words were rushed, urgent. You can't hide forever. What's done in the dark will come to light. His heart sank. Hadn't he just begun to break free? As he faced the audience, the applause still ringing, the urgency of the moment morphed into a sensation of dread in the pit of his stomach. Would this triumph be overshadowed by the truth Ryan was just waiting to unleash? Can it ever really be over? He questioned silently, looking at the faces around him, their hope flickering like candles in the twilight. What would happen when Ryan finally made his move? Would the bond they shared withstand the oncoming storm? Would he find the strength to continue this fight, even if it meant facing his past head-on? Just as he was beginning to control the whirlwind of thoughts, every ounce of sincerity he had shared hung in the air, waiting for the storm to fall. The applause washed over Marcus like a tidal wave, yet in the midst of that warmth, his heart raced with a chill. Each clap seemed to echo the urgency of Ryan's message. His fingers trembled as they hovered over the phone, gripping it tightly, half tempted to toss it aside. Emily leaned closer, her voice low but full of concern. "Are you okay?" Marcus turned his gaze from the crowd to her. I thought I was free. But he wouldn't let me go that easily." "What do you mean?" She searched his eyes, and it struck him how deeply she cared. Right then, he felt every moment of vulnerability he had just shared, and the weight of Ryan's threats felt heavier. Before he could respond, Mr. Jenkins stood up, his voice cutting through the ambient noise. "Let us give Marcus a moment. We're proud of him for sharing. We believe in him." The room erupted in applause once more, but it only intensified the storm of thoughts swirling in Marcus's mind. Could he truly trust the support of his community when shadows danced beyond the lights? Taking a shaky breath, he addressed the audience again, compelled to confront his turmoil. "Thank you, Mr. Jenkins. But I need to be honest, not just with you but with myself." He felt the weight of expectations, a sense of responsibility to uphold the hope they had just invested in him. "There are moments that still haunt me, shadows that tug at my past, and I feel like I'm being hunted by who I used to be." His bones ached with tension as he scanned the room, searching faces for understanding. He saw nods and looks that were painfully familiar, people who faced their own struggles, like they all did. Suppressing a shudder, he recalled the night spent reliving old mistakes, desperate to bury them, knowing they could unravel him. The silence that followed was a pressure cooker of anticipation. Emily squeezed his arm, her presence grounding him. "We can't let fear dictate our lives," Marcus pressed on, shaking off the doubt. "But I don't want to pretend it's easy either. Vulnerability isn't a one-time act. It's a journey we take together." Suddenly, a familiar voice pierced the burgeoning storm. "Marcus." It was Maggie, a woman from his past, someone who knew too much about the darker chapters of his life. She stood, her hands on her hips, a firmness in her stance that sprinkled the air with tension. "What you shared was courageous, but you're not the only one with scars." Gasps rippled through the audience. The spotlight has shifted, and the air held a strange mix of tension and empathy. Maggie's gaze locked with Marcus's, and for a fleeting moment, they shared a moment of understanding. "You think you're the only one haunted by the past? We've all got stories. Yours is just the beginning." Marcus's heart quickened. What did she mean by that? Would her own truth bring more chaos or connection? He could see Emily nodding beside him, silently encouraging him to lean into this unexpected moment, while the other faces in the crowd were a tapestry of confusion and intrigue. Before he could respond, the realization hit him like a punch in the gut. This was not just about him anymore. This was an opportunity to bring everyone together, to unveil their vulnerabilities, to show that no one is alone in their struggles. As he breathed in, he felt the air thick with possibility but also with dread. Could they really confront their collective fears? Could he find the strength to stand tall amidst the uncertainty? As Maggie stepped forward, the stakes had never felt higher, and yet there was a flicker of hope igniting deep within him. What if this moment is more than just my story? He thought, weighing the potential connections and the revelations ready to unfold. The audience waited in bated breath, the air heavy with expectation. Could they face the darkness together? And more pressingly, what would be revealed next? Every heartbeat echoed in the silence that followed Maggie's powerful statement. Marcus took a deep breath, his body vibrating with tension and anticipation. Maggie's challenge hung in the air, thick with unspoken stories. She's right, he thought. I'm not alone in this. He searched the crowd, looking for a sign of strength. Could they all show their scars today? He stepped closer to the microphone, igniting a flicker of courage. What do you mean, Maggie? He finally asked, urgency pushing his voice out as if a door had swung wide open. What stories do you have to share? I want to hear them. The room held its breath, and Marcus felt a ripple of energy spark among his listeners. He could see the flicker of vulnerability in Maggie's face. It was the same expression he had seen in himself, the fear mixed with hope. Well, if you're sharing, she began, her voice softer now, I guess it's only fair. My past isn't pretty either. I battled addiction. That's why I moved back, to get help and find my footing again. I've wished I could erase those years, but they shaped who I am. Her honesty sent shockwaves through the audience. The reactions were immediate, a mixture of sympathy, understanding, and even shared grievances. Marcus could almost feel the walls around each person start to dissolve. Thank you for sharing that. We all have our struggles. It felt good to nod in agreement, to stand side by side with someone who had faced their own demons. As scary as it is to look back, it's our chance to connect with each other. He flicked his gaze to Emily, who stood with tears in her eyes and a proud smile on her lips. This was bigger than any individual, this was a collective display of strength. Then, from the back, another voice rose, Sam, a local teacher known for her compassion. I'm a survivor too. Lost my parents young, struggled to find my way. I've been ashamed and angry. But standing here, it seems we are all fighting our own battles. Loud murmurs of encouragement surged through the room. Marcus felt electrified by the candidness unfolding around him. Each revelation was a thread being woven into something greater, a tapestry of shared experiences that shone with resilience. People began to nod, hands reached out to one another, urging personal stories to flow like an unstoppable river. My dad left when I was a kid, shouted Amir, his voice cracking with emotion. I never thought I'd amount to anything. His dark eyes gleamed with a pain now shared among them. And so it went, like a domino effect, fears spilled out, like fragments of confetti in the wind. Marcus marveled at the courage it took to strip away the layers of pain and uncertainty. Every voice added depth to the moment, fortifying the unity within the audience. While he once felt hunted by his past, now he felt held by the strength of vulnerability. What started as a light illuminating his individual journey had morphed into a blazing beacon for others. But as the energy surged, so did the reality of Ryan's threats, lurking like a shadow outside this circle of light. Marcus couldn't escape the gnawing question, what would happen when it came time to face those dangers again? As he gazed out at the sea of faces, each reflecting hope and fear intertwined, a sense of purpose ignited within him. Let us keep this going, he urged, desperation weaving into his passion. We're stronger together. But we need to keep talking, sharing. Suddenly, he felt a sharp vibration in his pocket. Rectangular and cold, it pulled him back and made his stomach drop. Ryan's name flashed across the screen, a stark reminder that he couldn't escape the dark beyond these walls forever. Will you stand with me? He thought, prepared to face whatever lay ahead. The crowd waited, hungry for more, drawing breath with bated anticipation. What would he say when faced with that unknown? How could they turn their story into a forceful movement against the threats still looming? Marcus stood at the podium, the roar of voices still echoing around him, but within him simmered a storm. The warmth and connection he'd just forged with this community had lit a fire, but the shadow of Ryan's impending actions loomed overhead, threatening to drown out their shared moment. Will you stand with me? He spoke out loud, clutching the microphone tightly, feeling the weight of each beat of his heart. The silence that followed was palpable, stretching like a delicate thread. And then, amidst the quiet, a young man in the audience stood, his hands trembling but his voice clear. "I'll stand with you, Marcus. We all will." There was a ripple of agreement, a swell of bodies rising as others joined in. Each declaration felt like fuel added to the fire, igniting courage deep within Marcus's core. He smiled, the worry easing slightly as shared resolve enveloped him. "Together, we'll break the silence around our struggles. Together, we'll amplify our voices." Emboldened, he continued, "Ryan thinks he can intimidate me, that he can scare me into silence. But he doesn't know what he's up against." The audience erupted in cheers, their support creating an atmosphere that felt electric. "You've shown me today, you've reminded me that facing our truth is power. It unites us against the forces that try to divide us." More hands shot up, voices chiming in, stories of pain and triumph bursting forth like a dam breaking. As the community shared their stories of hurt, loss, and rebirth, the vibrant colors of their collective resilience painted the room brighter, overshadowing any fear that lurked within. Standing with newfound strength, Marcus found himself smiling through the tears glistening at the edges of his eyes. "Look at us. We're not just a movement, we're a family. We thrive not just in our moments of joy, but also in the deep valleys of our pain, as we support each other." The applause surged again, a rhythmic wave of unity. "Let us spread this. Let us show Ryan and those like him that our truth has a power he can't extinguish. Whoever is facing their own battles, we're in this together." The room vibrated with the energy of fervent agreement and clarity, but just then, his phone buzzed harshly in his pocket. The chaotic weight of reality invaded this moment of catharsis. He glanced down, the screen flashing with ominous words, "You can't escape your past. Get ready for the truth to come crashing down." His heart raced, panic threatened to engulf him, but then he looked out at the sea of faces, full of belief and solidarity, and something shifted within. He felt the collective heartbeat resonating with him. Those who stood with him today had their own pasts, their own burdens. If they could unite in vulnerability, surely, he could face whatever Ryan had planned. Taking a deep breath, Marcus steadied himself. "I am not defined by my past, nor will I allow it to control my future. We don't hide from the truth. We embrace it." The crowd erupted again, a roaring wave of support surging through him, invigorating his spirit. "I promise to stand here with all of you as we create new chapters, filled with hope, healing, and empowerment." The faces around him mirrored determination, and in that instant, he understood this was a revolution built not just on words, but on the threads of their interconnected experiences. With that realization ignited, Marcus stepped forward, resolved. "Tomorrow, we plan, we prepare. I will not only be your voice, I will be your shield," he declared, feeling lighter with each word, the burdens lifted off his shoulders by the strength of the community surrounding him. "This fight is ours, and together, we will rise." As the applause soared to heights he could barely fathom, he smiled at his friends, his family, his community. Whatever Ryan planned wouldn't break this bond. It would only amplify their resolve to push forward together, building a brighter future. In that moment, certainty overwhelmed fear. He was never alone, and as the hall buzzed with life, filled with laughter and promises of the vibrant days ahead, Marcus knew this could be the spark of a transformative journey, one where their strength, unity, and shared truths could shatter the remnants of doubt, easing the shadows of the past, and paving the way for a tomorrow everyone had the right to dream about. He turned off his phone, placing it aside. "Let us begin this movement today," he shouted, ready to embrace everything that awaited them. The audience erupted into a passionate cheer, and in that moment, their shared strength silenced the lingering shadows once and for all. Together, they defaced the storms and bask in the light. Together, they were unstoppable. If you connected with this conclusion and want to explore more incredible stories, subscribe immediately to the channel so you won't miss the next exclusive adventures. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and let everyone join our journey. Comment below with your feelings about this ending. Don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Only true fans of this channel understand how much your support matters. Let's build this community together.